Within the lore of Trench Crusade, there is mention of a mighty warship in the service of Britannia, a moving fortress that can fight on land and sea. That's what we are covering today, along with tying it into a larger picture of the naval wars between heaven and hell, and which side is winning and what advantages this gives them. So, welcome back to the trenches, and let's begin. They say Britannia no longer rules the waves. This is indeed correct, for wherever it goes, the moving fortress rules the land, sea and sky all at once. After decades of matching and often overcoming the heretic naval menace with the might of the Royal Fleet, the Crown of England now finds most of its battles are fought on their own land. Ever since the disastrous naval battle of the Blooded Cliffs in 1805. I assume this links to an earlier bit of lore that in 1670, due to the constant coastal raids by the heretic fleets, the Crown of England begins the construction of the fortress of the White Cliffs, and that after the battle they became the Blooded Cliffs. England has been a country at war, betrayed by the Prince of Wales, who switched sides in the middle of the battle. The remnants of the English fleet were only salvaged thanks to Admiral Nelson's rearguard action and the heroic sacrifice of the HMS Bellerophon. The rest of the fleet limped into Portsmouth to fight again another day, though mercifully so great was the toll exacted by Nelson's defiant last stand that an immediate full-scale invasion of Britain was averted, for the legendary admiral took the Great Red Dragon, the flagship of the heretic fleet, to the bottom of the ocean with him. The years that followed were hard for England. With their lost dominance of the waves, its overseas territories were gone, and even the vital trade with mainland Europa became a desperate struggle. Heretic naval raiding parties caused widespread chaos and destruction all along the Albion coastline, often striking deep into the countryside, pillaging and burning towns and cities before being intercepted by the Crown Army, which was being stretched to its very limits. Faced with death by 1,000 cuts, King Robert the Longsword reformed the army to counter this threat and began plans for the building of a secret weapon to safeguard the nation, putting the fate of England in the hands of Project Invincible. The construction of the moving fortress of Britannia completed in the year 1907 AD. The construction of the moving fortress of Britannia and its entry in the Great War finally stabilised the situation on English shores, as it was able to match and exceed the heretic forces in any type of warfare wherever the infernal powers decided to attempt a landing by simply moving there under its own immense power and unleashing its devastating combined arms power upon the invaders. The moving fortress is a marvel of industrial engineering, a titanic fleet carrier and battleship that can traverse both land and sea. This Leviathan patrols the shores of England, leaving a thick trail of black smoke and 3-foot deep tracks in its wake. It acts both as a mobile base for England's high command, an unrivaled artillery stronghold, and the only faithful ship that can engage heretic behemoth-class vessels in one-on-one naval combat and emerge victorious. Behemoth capital ships are built in mockery of the ark that God once bade Noah to construct. These are enormous capital ships, floating cities that act as mobile bases for fast strike craft and the insidious submarines that prowl the shipping lanes and ambush military convoys. The moving fortress is equally capable of engaging the heretic fleets at air, sea or on land. Within the vastness of its 4 superstructure stands the fortress monastery of the 10,000 Knights of St. George, who can match even the fiercest heretics in close quarters combat. An entire armoured corps accompanied Britannia and a full fleet consisting of 1/3 of England's remaining naval strength acts as its escort. Above it, the flow of England's air knights fly their fighter planes and naval bombers when the fortress goes to war, which is often. The heretic high captains are well aware of the strategic value of controlling the British Isles, and they constantly strive to establish a beachhead that would lead to eventual conquest. though thus far without lasting success due to the might of the fortress. The technology that allows Britannia to move over shorelines is unknown and a closely guarded secret of the Crown. Whatever the source of its innovation, it allows the fortress to travel across the land of most English beaches, albeit slowly. When crawling upon England's shores, a great noise and a deafening hiss of steam can be heard, and it appears that the ship does not touch the ground at all. To me, this bit of lore clashes with an earlier reference for the fortress, where it said, "It leaves a thick trail of black smoke and 3-foot deep tracks in its wake." Perhaps those bits come out for certain terrain that might be difficult to overcome. And as to what this device is, I've not settled on any particular idea. My first thought was some sort of blessed holy device that lets the fortress hover. However, after thinking about it a little bit more and thinking about what this thing is, it's an incredible investment in technology. I think, however it hovers, is technology. Thus perhaps why there's that little sound when it's activated. Anyway, if there is a weakness to the moving fortress, it is the fact that it is the only one of its kind. England's reserves of orichalcum and other critical minerals that were required to construct the pride of the nation were depleted by the enormous effort to build it. That metal was first used in 1503 when the war prophet Angelos, guided by Saint Elegius, discovered the formula of orichalcum steel. Though extremely costly to produce, the metal proves to be effective against all missile weapons and is still used to this day. Current production and trade of such materials can barely maintain the repairs to the fortress and the rest of the fleet. Within the British Isles, the moving fortress is a delicate issue to discuss. It is dedicated to the defence of England alone, and her neighbours grumble that while Englishmen sleep soundly in their beds, damn right we do, under its protection, the heretic navies raid Alba, Ira, and the lands of Wales with impunity. The English Crown counters these accusations by pointing out that it is only the fear of the fortress that stops the hulking behemoth-class heretic battleships from approaching the shores of the three islands and mounting full-scale invasions on them all. Britannia proudly displays the heraldic device of the three lions. Until the construction of the moving fortress, the English coat of arms carried only the 2 lions of William the Conqueror. When the construction of Britannia was completed, a 3rd lion was added. No ruler before had dared to raise their own device next to that of William I. On the prow stands the defiant image of Lady Britannia, carrying the sword forged in part from the melted sword katana, signalling that England will show no mercy to enemies that come to plunder its shores. The sword katana is a ceremonial sword used at the coronation of British kings and queens in our world. The sailors of the fleet swear that the figurehead has the power to turn aside any heretic artillery shell due to the divine providence granted to it by God. Whether this is true or not, the proud figurehead has never been touched by an enemy weapon, adding to the mystique and majesty of this, the foremost defender of England. Now looking at the wider war, if we look at 1666, this is when a heretic fleet captures Gibraltar. This would give them relative control for others to access the Mediterranean and stop access at this time. We are also told it became their base of operation against, and also during that time they gained access to the Atlantic. And if they can harass England, then you see what a power they are in the sea. They added to the power in 1866 with the use of submarines, a power I've not read those loyal to the creator have a counter for. I wonder how the fortress would fend one of them off, perhaps a set of guns below the waterline, underneath, perhaps even that could move and target them. We are told that with the development in 1870, launched from Gibraltar, the heretic submarine fleets exacted a heavy toll on the merchant navies. Widespread famine ensued. Whatever control of the Med that base gave them, we are told that in the Med they fight to maintain parity with heretics and ensure New Antioch is supplied elsewhere. The forces of hell dominate shipping lines. And in a late law edition, I was looking up the HMS Invincible or the Invincible project in World War I to see if there's any targets or ties to real world in it. And The Moving Fortress was launched in 1907. This is the same year that in our world the HMS Invincible was launched, and it took part in battles during the First World War. Now, I'm in danger of repeating myself here going over the naval stuff, so if you want more info on that subject, check out my video on heretic naval raiders. Let me know what you think to this lore, and if you like this video on the Trench Crusade, then why not try this one? If you want a whole bunch of them, check out the playlist on the channel.